Imagine the perfect American life. You know the image I'm talking about.
Right.
The high-stakes career, the beautiful house, the supportive spouse, that whole sense that you are contributing to something massive and important. It is the glossy surface of the American dream. But today, we are going to take a sharp object and scratch right through that surface to see what is writhing underneath.
And what we find underneath is not just a crack in the foundation, it is a complete hollowing out of the self. We're looking at a story that begins as a high-octane thriller about space exploration and morphs, almost imperceptibly, into a psychological horror story about identity and control.
We are conducting a deep dive into the source material surrounding the Victory space shuttle mission. Specifically, we're focusing on the lives of Commander Spencer Armacost and his wife, Jillian. We'll be pulling from the novelization by Robert Tine, which offers this really granular, almost forensic look at the events that turned a routine mission into an absolute nightmare scenario.
And nightmare really is the right word. Because this isn't just about an explosion in space. It is a case study on the psychological toll of being what the text calls a wholly owned subsidiary of a government agency.
That phrase really stuck with me. Wholly owned subsidiary. I mean, it usually refers to a corporation owned by a holding company. But here, it's applied to human beings.
Exactly. The source material frames the astronauts and their families not as employees, but as assets. The mission statement of this deep dive is to unpack exactly what happens when that asset, meaning Commander Spencer Armacost, goes dark for 2 minutes.
Right.
We have a 120-second gap in communication, a terrifying anomaly, and a drastic personality shift that suggests the man who came back might not be the man who left.
So let's set the stage here. We are dealing with a NASA machine, and the source material paints a very specific, almost cynical picture of this world. It notes that in an era where Americans mistrusted almost every government institution, they mistrusted NASA the least.
It's the power of the image. You know, that crew-cut, can-do organization. We associate the space program with competence, with the whole Houston, we have a problem mentality, followed by some brilliant engineering solution.
It's comforting.
It is comforting, but the text pulls back the curtain and actually compares the agency to an old-fashioned movie studio.
I found that comparison fascinating. It implies that everything we see, the launches, the press conferences, the smiles, is a production.
It is a production. The astronauts are the stars. They're protected, groomed, and managed, and their wives. The text explicitly calls them contract players.
Which is such a dehumanizing term for a spouse. A contract player.
It creates a dynamic where the marriage is secondary to the mission. The wives have these unwritten, ironclad contracts. They are expected to be the supporting cast. They have to be beautiful, stoic, and perfectly composed, because if they crack, it reflects poorly on the star.
And Jillian Armacost, our protagonist, she's acutely aware of this game. She isn't just a bystander who happened to marry a pilot. The background notes suggest she was actually instrumental in getting Spencer into the commander's seat.
Yeah, she was the diplomat. See, Spencer is the talent. He's the best pilot in the program. But in a massive bureaucracy, skill isn't always enough. You need political capital.
Right.
The text describes Jillian as the one who could charm a strategically placed general or thaw a senator's purse strings. She smoothed the edges that Spencer couldn't.
So in a very real sense, she engineered the very situation that eventually tears her life apart.
She built the pedestal he stands on. And there's a bitter irony there, because the source material highlights a bud of resentment growing deep inside her. She worked assiduously to get him the Victory mission, the absolute pinnacle of his career. But once he has it, she realizes it acts as an unbridgeable moat between them.
It's the classic trap. You help someone achieve their dream, only to realize the dream takes them away from you.
Precisely. And that tension, that mix of love, pride, and resentment is what defines the Armacost dynamic right before the launch.
Let's zoom in on that dynamic. Section 1 of our outline focuses on Spencer and Jillian behind closed doors. The source material gives us this incredibly intimate scene in their bedroom. It describes the archaeology of debris from their evening.
I love that phrase. It paints such a vivid picture. Empty Pinot Noir bottles, pasta bowls with a few strands of spaghettini left, clothes kicked off in haste. It establishes that these two people have a genuine, passionate connection. They aren't just roommates or business partners. They are deeply in love.
But the detail that really caught my attention was what they were watching on TV. You'd expect an astronaut, a master of the universe type, to be watching sports or an action movie. But they're watching Follow the Fleet.
A 1936 musical with Fred Astaire.
Why is that specific choice so important for our understanding of Spencer?
Well, it disrupts the archetype. The text notes that most of Spencer's fellow flyers are red meat types. They are adrenaline junkies. If they watch a movie, they want things blowing up. But Spencer, he's singing along to Fred Astaire. He knows the lyrics. He's thoughtful, well-read, and culturally aware.
It signals that he has a soul. He has an interior life that isn't just about vectors and thrust.
Exactly. He's a Renaissance man in a flight suit. And he's also skeptical. That's another key detail the text provides. In the privacy of that bedroom, he admits that he knows the agency makes mistakes. He references the Challenger disaster. He tells Jillian he knows a stupid order when he hears one.
So he hasn't drunk the Kool-Aid. He's the best pilot they have, but he's still an independent thinker.
Which makes his eventual fate so much more tragic. We are establishing that the original Spencer Armacost was a complex, loving, critical thinker. He wasn't a robot.
And in that bedroom scene, amidst the wine and the Fred Astaire, there's this heavy, unspoken tension. Jillian says she hates this part, the part right before he leaves.
And Spencer makes a promise. He says, I'll call you.
Which Jillian dismisses immediately. She knows the protocol. You don't just pick up a phone and call from orbit. It's impossible.
She thinks he's teasing her, but he gets serious. He says, I will never leave you again.
I will never leave you again.
It's a vow. In the moment, it's a romantic attempt to bridge that unbridgeable moat. He's trying to reassure her that the separation is temporary. But if we look at the entire narrative arc, that phrase returns to haunt us. It stops being a promise of presence and starts sounding like a threat of permanent attachment.
So the bedroom scene ends. We move to the launch. Section 2. And I have to say, the description of the launch in the source text is visceral. We are so used to the HD, slow-motion footage of the shuttle rising gracefully on a pillar of fire. It looks majestic on TV.
But for the wife standing at the window, it doesn't look majestic at all. It looks violent.
Jillian describes the sensory overload. The house is physically vibrating. There's a blizzard of smoke obscuring the view. And she doesn't compare the shuttle to an eagle or an arrow. She compares it to a tottering drunk.
That is a terrifying image. A tottering drunk implies instability. It implies a complete lack of control. She also calls it a weak fledgling. She sees the extreme fragility of the machine.
And the booster separation.
A gut-wrenching yang. She feels the violence of the physics. It feels like the ship is being ripped apart. The text really wants us to understand that space travel is not safe. It is a controlled explosion that barely holds together.
So he survives the launch. He's in orbit. And Jillian goes back to her routine. She's a second-grade teacher.
Which is a great grounding detail. She goes from the high drama of the launch to a classroom of 7-year-olds asking about Florida. What do they have in Florida? Oranges and rocket ships.
And then the routine is shattered. A student comes in with a message. Mrs. Armacost, you got a phone call.
Now, anyone who works in a school knows this feeling. If you get pulled out of class for a phone call, your stomach drops. You assume it's an emergency. You assume someone is dead.
Jillian rushes to the office, terrified. But it's not bad news. Not yet, anyway. It's Spencer.
He kept the promise. He actually called from orbit.
He has mission control patching him through. But let's analyze the tone of this call, because the source material suggests this is a pivotal character moment. It's a very public, private conversation.
Right. You have Jillian in the school office, Spencer in the shuttle, and about 300 people at Mission Control and Jet Propulsion Labs listening in on the loop. There is zero privacy.
And yet, Spencer tries to create intimacy. He asks, "What are you wearing?"
It's a flash of his personality. He's trying to be the husband, not the commander. But Jillian notices something off about his voice. She describes it as wistful.
Wistful. That's a strange emotion for a man who is currently living his lifelong dream.
It is. He starts asking about the weather. Nice day down there, huh? Not a cloud in the sky.
Why ask that? He's looking at the Earth. He can see the weather better than anyone.
The expert analysis in the text suggests he isn't asking for information. He sounds like he's recalling a memory. The text says it was as if he was asking about something he would never see again. Something deep in his past.
That gives me chills.
Yeah.
It's almost like a premonition. Like he knows on some level that this is the last time he will see the Earth as a human being.
It feels like a goodbye. He asks her to go to the window, to look up. He wants that visual connection. He says, I am right above you, right over you now.
Jillian stretches the phone cord as far as it will go. She looks up at the blue sky.
And asks, you looking up?
And then nothing.
Static. The line goes dead.
We lost the link. And immediately the official NASA voice comes back on. Smooth, reassuring, paternalistic. Don't worry, we'll get him back.
But the link isn't just down for a second. This brings us to section 3, the accident and the silence. This is the exact moment the genre shifts.
The news breaks while Jillian is with her sister Nan I want to take a second to talk about Nan because she serves a really important function in this story.
Nan is the foil. Jillian is the perfect wife, composed, elegant, good taste. Nan is messy. She's impulsive. She's eating frozen dinners. She represents the chaotic, uncurated reality of life.
Nan punctures the balloon. She calls Spencer Johnny Rocket Boy. She makes jokes about how Jillian landed the hero while she's stuck with guys who threw up on themselves.
It highlights how lucky and perfect Jillian's life is supposed to be. But when the special news report flashes on the TV, that perfection shatters instantly.
They don't catch the details at first, just that something is wrong. And then the doorbell rings.
The arrival of the man in the gray suit, Sherman Reese,
The uniform.
and Jillian's reaction is visceral. She feels an irrational loathing for him. It's a primal response. Here is this bureaucrat, safe in his starched shirt and shiny shoes, standing in her living room while her husband is drifting in the void. She hates him for being safe.
She asks the only question that matters. Is my husband dead?
And Reese gives the classic bureaucratic non-answer. Details are very sketchy.
Which, in that specific type of corporate speak, usually means prepare for a funeral.
So they are whisked away to headquarters. And the description of the HQ here shifts. It's no longer the movie studio. It's described like a prison or a hospital waiting room. Fluorescent lights, the hum of machinery, people averting their eyes.
They meet their director. And if Reese was evasive, the director is arrogant.
He's dismissive. He says, "I know who they are, Sherman." He doesn't want to deal with the messy emotions of the wives. He just wants to manage the PR crisis.
But Jillian pushes him. She cuts through the jargon. She demands to know what happened up there.
And here's the fact pattern. This is crucial for you to understand. Spencer and his pilot, Alex Streck, were outside the orbiter. They were conducting an EVA, extravehicular activity, to repair a
A
satellite.
satellite that Spencer had previously complained about, right? He called it a piece of exploding satellite, using some pretty colorful language.
Which turned out to be prophetic. There was an explosion. And for 120 seconds, 2 full minutes, Mission Control lost everything. No telemetry, no voice, no visual.
2 minutes. In the context of our daily lives, 2 minutes is a commercial break. But in space.
In space, it's an eternity. The director reveals that they drifted behind the shuttle. They were in the shadow of the orbiter. To find them, the pilot inside had to rotate the entire shuttle 180 degrees.
So for those 2 minutes, Spencer and Alex were completely alone in the absolute silence. In the dark, no radio contact with Earth, no contact with the ship.
Just drifting in the void. And this is where the psychological horror begins, because we have to ask, what happened in that silence?
Natalie Streck, Alex's wife, seems to know.
Natalie is the intuitive antenna in this story. While Jillian is trying to process the facts, Natalie is reacting to the feeling. She wails, "He's dead. I know he's dead."
The director keeps telling her they are alive, that they're back on the ship, that their vitals are registering.
But Natalie isn't talking about biological death. She's talking about a spiritual severance. She says he's dead before she even knows the medical details. She intuits that the man who came back isn't the man who left.
The shuttle lands. It's a miracle landing. They spin it as taking care of its own, cutting the mission short to save the heroes.
It's a cover-up of a near disaster, spun into a triumph of human spirit.
They get the astronauts to the hospital, and in Section 4 we see the aftermath. We have 2 very different outcomes for the 2 men.
First, let's look at Spencer. Jillian is at his bedside. He's unconscious. Then he wakes up.
He seems okay.
Physically, yes. But look at the description. He gazes into Jillian's eyes as if reacquainting himself with her features.
That phrase bothers me. Reacquainting.
It's ambiguous, right? You could read it as romantic. "I missed you so much, I need to memorize your face again." Or you could read it as data acquisition, mapping the terrain, learning the interface.
And he repeats the promise. I will never leave you again.
But this time, the context hangs over it like a shroud. It's no longer a reassuring vow. It sounds like a statement of fact. I am here now, and I am not going anywhere.
Meanwhile, down the hall, Alex Streck is telling a very different story. He is not waking up gently.
No, Alex is in the ultra-intensive care unit. And this scene is the smoking gun of the entire mystery. He is unconscious, but his body is in revolt. He's thrashing, the monitors are screaming.
And he's yelling things. He shouts, "Spencer, do you feel that?"
Do you feel that? That is a terrifying question. It implies a connection, a shared sensory input. If Alex is in pain, he assumes Spencer is experiencing the exact same thing.
It suggests they are linked.
Exactly, like nodes on a network. And then he screams, "What is that? What the hell is that?"
He's seeing something the doctors can't see.
or feeling something foreign inside him. The panic is absolute. He flatlines. The medical team rushes in with the paddles. They defibrillate him. Clear. Zap. Nothing. Clear. Zap.
And this is the moment, the resurrection.
Spencer appears in the doorway. He's leaning on Jillian, watching.
The paddles hit Alex's chest again. He opens his eyes. But he doesn't look at the doctors who just saved him. He doesn't look at his crying wife, Natalie.
He looks past them, directly at Spencer.
And Spencer does something chilling.
A nod.
Slight move of the head.
The source material explicitly uses the word permission. It says it was as if he was saying, okay.
Permission to what? To live?
Or permission to stop fighting. Permission to accept the download, because look at the timing. Immediately after Spencer nods, Alex calms down. His heart rate stabilizes. The panic vanishes. He is back.
But the implication is that he wasn't allowed to come back until Spencer authorized it.
Precisely. It suggests a hierarchy, a control structure established during those missing 2 minutes. Spencer is the alpha unit. Alex is the subordinate.
That is deeply creeping me out. It implies that what is happening isn't just a medical miracle. It's a coordinated event.
It's a reboot. And the Alex Streck who wakes up is just as hollowed out as Spencer, but perhaps less stable.
So they're released from the hospital. The PR machine kicks into high gear. The president calls Spencer a true American hero.
And Spencer plays the part perfectly. He jokes about the new car the president promised. He says, I hope it's not the special kind that blows up when I put the key in the ignition.
A little dark humor about the explosion.
It's deadpan. It shows he has access to Spencer's memories and Spencer's sense of humor, but it feels simulated.
There's a photo op. A victory celebration. Everyone is smiling for the cameras. But Natalie Streck is falling apart. She corners Jillian.
She is desperate. She asks, does he ever talk about it?
The 2 minutes?
She is convinced they almost died. She says, I have thought of nothing else since it happened. She knows they are haunted by it. But Jillian is in denial. She says, but they didn't die. They're fine.
Jillian wants to believe the dream is back on track. She wants the facade. But then in Section 5, Spencer drops the hammer. He makes a decision that makes no sense for the man he used to be.
A career pivot.
Spencer Armacost, the man who lived to fly, who looked down on anyone who didn't have wings, tells Jillian, I'm done up there.
He resigns, just like that. No hesitation, no regret.
And he's not just quitting to retire and fish in Florida. He's taking a job, an executive position at an aerospace firm.
In New York City.
Now, why is this so significant?
Because the text establishes earlier that the old Spencer hated cities. He hated crowds. He said living like that wasn't human. He needed the open sky.
And the new Spencer.
He explicitly tells Jillian, I want people. I want a lot of people. Millions and millions of people.
Millions and millions.
That phrasing is key. He doesn't say, I want culture or I want excitement. He wants biomass.
If you look at this through the lens of an invasive species or a parasitic entity, what is a city?
It's a feeding ground. Space is a vacuum. It's empty. Florida is spread out. But New York is a hive. It is a dense concentration of humanity.
So he's moving to the resource pool.
And the camouflage. In a city of millions, it's easier to hide. But the specific desire for bucket loads of money and millions of people signals a hunger that the old Spencer never had. It's a strategic redeployment of the asset.
When Jillian questions this, because she loves their quiet lives in Florida, he deflects. He uses charm. And this brings us to the spaghetti-eating dog.
It's such a bizarre moment. He says, ain't nothing cuter than a spaghetti-eating dog.
It's a callback to their old life. Folksy, charming.
But it feels calculated. He identifies that Jillian is resisting based on emotion and nostalgia, so he counters with a simulated emotional hook. He knows that line will make her smile. He knows it will disarm her.
He's hacking her emotional defenses.
Exactly. He overrides her logic with the performance of the good old boy husband. And notice how he ends the argument. He says, I think I have to try it.
I have to try it.
Not I want to, I have to. It sounds like a biological imperative. The unit must move to the population center. It's not a preference, it's a directive.
And Jillian caves. She agrees to the move. She thinks she's supporting her husband's new career.
In reality, she's the transport mechanism. She is bringing the Trojan horse into the gates of Manhattan.
So let's pull all these threads together in our outro. We have a routine mission interrupted by a catastrophic explosion.
We have 120 seconds of total silence where 2 men drifted in the absolute dark of the void.
When contact is reestablished, the men are alive, but their psychological profiles have been overwritten.
We have a resurrection in a hospital room that appears to be coordinated by a silent command from Spencer, a permission to live given to a subordinate.
And we have a radical shift in habitat preference, from the isolation of the sky to the density of the city, from avoiding crowds to demanding millions and millions of people.
The evidence points to one conclusion. The Spencer Armacost who floated out of the airlock to fix that satellite never came back.
The provocative thought here is chilling. Jillian Armacost believes she has her husband back.
Huh.
She's holding him, kissing him, moving to New York with him. She thinks she won the lottery.
But based on that wistful phone call, the one where he asked about the weather as if he'd never see it again,
The real Spencer said his goodbyes on that call.
I believe he did. He knew, or he sensed, that the end was coming. And what Jillian is bringing to New York is a wholly owned subsidiary of something else entirely, something that lived in the silence between the stars.
It redefines the title of the story, doesn't it? The astronaut's wife.
She isn't the wife of an astronaut anymore.
No, she's the wife of the void.
And she's about to introduce that void to millions and millions of people.
Well, on that terrifying note, I don't think I'll ever look at a routine mission the same way again.
Nor should you.
And next time you look up at the stars, just remember, they might be looking back. And they might be looking for a way in.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you next time.